Hey, good morning, band members. I'm Mr. Rogers, band director at Sonora Elementary School for the Bobcat Band. Hey, good morning, everybody. You probably didn't expect that one, did you? There are a lot of things I do for the band y'all don't anticipate. So I'm going to mosey on to the living room. My first attempt of this, I accidentally turned the camera off, so I'm going to be gentle this time. All right. So here we are. Welcome to our home, everybody. If you've been following us on Birdcat Band throughout our daily lessons through Essential Elements 2000 and our sight reading, you're probably familiar with this space. But this is not any other ordinary day. This is Freaky Friday. Hey, I hope y'all enjoyed watching Mr. Dooley's video on Wednesday, on Wacky Wednesday, on the trash bagpipes. And we received a lot of very positive feedback. On these days, we're going to try our best to continue to deviate, get away from our instruments a little bit, and show off a new technique. Now, this instrument here, this is called the Didgeridoo. There are many shapes and sizes of the Didgeridoo. I'm going to tell you where this instrument comes from. I'm going to tell you where the Didgeridoo itself comes from and from what time period. The Didgeridoo was first invented 40,000 plus years ago by the Aborigine in Australia. Now the Aboriginals from anywhere are any original peoples of a particular area before settlers had arrived, before people traveled there. So as far back as history looks, the Aboriginals of Australia are the ones who invented this instrument, the Didgeridoo. I'm going to go over, with this instrument in particular, it's made out of not such a traditional type of wood. Typically, when you make a Didgeridoo, you have to wait for termites to hollow out the inside of the tree. And usually people go around, they tap on trees with an axe and they find whichever one's the most hollow, they'll cut that one down. And they'll finish hollowing out the wooden tree, which is essentially a pipe. They'll heat up a metal rod really, really hot in a fire, and they'll actually stick that rod into the opening of the tree they just cut down, and they'll kind of singe the inside to make it as hollow as they can and as big of an opening. This instrument in particular, it's made out of agave. This instrument's not from Australia. It's actually from Florida. A gentleman that I met by the name of James, let's see if you can see the emblem right here. He kind of burnt it, etched it there. It's called JMJ. He combined the three letters together. Those are his initials. His company's called the JMJ Experience. He lives in Clearwater, Florida, and he goes around and he finds hollow trees, usually dead ones. He'll cut them down. He'll cut down agave trees. And originally, this tree stood like this. It was likely taller, because you'll notice that this piece right here, it's actually rosewood. And I'll tell you what's not traditional about that in a sec. But everything beneath is an agave tree. He found it growing like this. He chopped it down. He got rid of the branches that were growing off of it. And what he did was he actually split it down the middle. I'm going to feel around for where that spot might be. Right here, there's sort of a line. There's a bump you can feel where he actually cut this in half and carved it out. Then he glued it back together to make one continuous pipe. Okay? So he used a not very traditional technique to make this instrument. Typically with the didgeridoo, you have to make a mouthpiece out of beeswax. And you can form that piece of beeswax, that big chunk, to fit your embouchure and to fit your unique facial features. In this case, he already has a wooden mouthpiece on here. And you'll see it's pretty big, right? If I place, I'll try not to hit the clocks behind me. See right there? So you brass players, you'll probably think, hey, that looks more like the size of a tuba mouthpiece, right? The way you play into a didgeridoo is by buzzing, all right? Now, normally on a brass instrument, you want to use the center of your mouth to buzz into the instrument. With the didgeridoo, I actually play out of the side. And you'll notice that when I make different sound effects, you can hear the sound, the syllable change. Didgeridoo, didgeridoo. I'm just saying didgeridoo while I play. Not really saying it, I'm just going. So try that with me. Ready, go. So it's a lot like whispering didgeridoo. Just moving my tongue up and down. Now this instrument was invented for hunting. It was not invented for music. It is used for ceremonial purposes as well, but you can simulate different animal sounds. That's an animal called the kookaburra. It's an indigenous bird that is common to be hunted and eaten. So you use that sound to draw in the kookaburra, and then they hunt the animal. So, again, this instrument, not the most traditional one. Rose mouthpiece, got the agave tree. You'll notice that I use another technique, which is the main lesson for today, and that is circular breathing. Circular breathing is when you can breathe out of your mouth while you inhale through the nose, right? So inhale with your nose, out with the mouth, again, in with the nose, out with the mouth. Now, try to do both at the same time. Go ahead, just try it on your own. Keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. It feels impossible, doesn't it? And that's because technically it is impossible, right? The way we use circular breathing is by storing air in our cheeks. We're gonna practice that in a sec. Let me demonstrate how I do that into the instrument. Now, the reason we want to do that is so that we can sustain our sound for as long as we want, essentially. Every now and then I have to take a break because you kind of get that feeling of having too much air in you after a while. So you kind of have to release that kind of pressure. Now, you'll see and hear out of my nose when I'm breathing, you'll see air being stored in my cheeks. The reason why you need to do that with the didgeridoo is because there are no bends in the pipe. You'll see it's one straight pipe. With your brass instruments, there's a little bit more resistance, and it helps you hold your air in because there are turns in the pipe. There's so many curves. For this, because it's one straight pipe, your air goes away really quickly. So it is like playing a tuba. And one thing I want to show you that's similar between this and a tuba is the note that it plays. Every didgeridoo has a different note that it can play. You can change the pitch. This one plays a low C. So for you tuba players out there, and low brass, this is the C below the staff, the bass clef staff. Our piano is a little bit flat. We need to get it tuned. So I kind of have to bend it down to match. But normally, right there is a C, but you can hear our piano is a little bit on the low side. So that's this instrument. I'm going to show you an exercise on how to work on your circular breathing. So here we go. Now you're going to store your air in your cheeks like this. Go ahead and do that. And now you're just going to push the air out and make the buzzing sound like this until you have no air left in your mouth. So like this. Don't do it toward your neighbor. You're going to spit all over him, okay? So you're not actually exhaling with your lungs. You're just pushing it out with your cheeks, okay? Now, while you're doing that, I want you to breathe in with your nose. So try this. Like that until it's all empty. And try to continue breathing like that. One more. So once you get that down, now if you can't get the air to push out with your cheeks, you can use your hands for a sec. Like that. Right? Now while you're breathing, while you're exhaling, overblow to where your cheeks swell. Then after that, go ahead and use that new technique. Trying to breathe in with the nose while pushing with the cheeks on the way out. And again, you can use your hands. Now, the last step is, well, my ears are starting to pop from doing that. I'm trying to yawn it out. Okay, there we go. So the last step is to transfer from your cheeks to your lungs. So let me demonstrate for you. Trying to get a smooth transition between the two. So let's try that together. Breathe out just normal first and swell up the cheeks. It feels pretty uncomfortable to push and to buzz with the cheeks at first, but the more you practice it, the more you get that transition, the more it becomes sort of an instinct thing, right? So for me, somebody thought this could be like a musical thing at one point. They're like, hey man, check this out. And everyone's looking at him just like, see this guy? Transferred to this instrument, this is what it's like. So there you have it. There's some circular breathing. There's one more trick I want to show you. And I hadn't even thought about this until today. Found some info online on how to work on circular breathing using a cup of water. Don't use too much water because it can shoot out. Mrs. Rogers reminded me of that because I filled it all the way up to here and I did this exercise and just water got everywhere. She's like, yeah, you're gonna have to get rid of some of that water, Mr. Rogers. So all you need is a straw, any size straw, fill it up with water, clear glass or plastic. That way you can see what you're doing. Now you're gonna breathe into the water just like that. The goal overall is to get it to be continuous where you can have bubbles all the time. So try puffing up your cheeks and pushing the air out that way. Right? You'll get a little bit. Do it again. That's your air capacity in your cheeks, right? Now you're going to breathe. And you're going to try to breathe in with your nose while you're pushing the air out with your cheeks. Okay, so try that. Now, if it ends, you know that's when it's time to transfer the air from your cheeks to the air in your lungs. That's when you need to do it. So, good. Now I'll do a little close up. I mean, I know you're not here to look at my face so close, but just to show you. And once you can achieve that a few times in a row, you know you have it nailed down. You can transfer this technique onto your band instrument. So if you have ever any long tones that you need to work on and you want to be able to just play it forever, that's how you do it, is with the circular breathing. Hey, Pokemon fans out there, Pika, Pika, Pikachu, right? This is Circular Breathing 101 with Mr. Rogers. Didgeridoo. There we have it. Hey, if you have any questions about this kind of stuff, whenever we're doing Wacky Wednesdays, Freaky Fridays, send an email to me and or Mr. Dooley. We're happy to send back to you. You'll notice that the comments have been disabled on these videos, unfortunately. That's because there was an age restriction on our channel. I had to change a setting on there on our YouTube account, and that automatically disables comments. I wish I could turn them back on because there's some pretty rad comments from some of you, but that's just what the setting does to the channel. So go ahead and send to us on our school email, Falcon Band, Bobcat Band, send to either one of us. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions. So, till next time, happy Freaky Friday, everybody.